Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have approval for the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, approved. PS1, let's roll right into that. Resolution accepting grant from the Oswego County ATV Club regarding enhanced ATV safety and enforcement. We've been doing this a lot. It's $1,000.
So moved.
Motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS2, resolution authorizing budgetary modification for Sheriff's Office to purchase 2 True North devices for Sheriff's Office and Drug Task Force from ARPA funding. It's a little over $67,000. Can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion got a second. Any discussion?
Is this the thing that identifies drugs?
Yes.
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 John, you want
Yes, I'm not
elaborate?
completely familiar with it myself because it's not one I've ever used. Drug Task Force has currently been using one that they can borrow at times from Border Patrol. But it's a device in which you drop the drug in, test it, tells you what it is, and with all the different substances they're coming across, just the regular old test kits no longer really work because they only test for your basic heroin, marijuana, cocaine.
This one includes the fentanyl, carfentanil.
This will pick up the fentanyl? Okay.
You're gonna have to keep changing that up though, because they keep getting newer and newer
Yeah.
Well,
drugs.
these ones actually you can update the software with it.
Oh, perfect,
Really?
good, because it is incredibly changing quite fast.
Okay, Mr. Castillo.
Is there going to be any added cost at some point in time with?
There is cost for the kits, because we've been trying to purchase them and trying to beat them up on price a couple times. They're throwing in, I believe it's like 200 with each one. We're figuring that's probably a year's supply with them, but we would have some fees for the kits. I don't think we have that
They're
price
pretty
with them,
negligible.
but they're pretty reasonable.
But yeah, I mean, as long
It's
as-
not a crazy
as long
cost.
as we know that we're going to have it, I mean, because I think it's something, that we need. So I'm not,
Yeah, we'd be able to pick that up in their regular budget, the cost of the supplies for it.
okay, good enough, good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Let's move on to PS3, resolution authorizing budgetary modification to transfer funds from salaries and wages to additional hours in the probation department. Get a motion?
So moved.
Give it a second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Dave?
Thanks. We needed to increase the frequency of our unannounced visits and warrant execution that our special services unit does. That's over and above the regular duties, so we pay additional hours because we're going out at night a lot. Sure. So we're running out of money, so we have quite a bit of surplus in our salary line, so I'm just asking to transfer over into additional hours.
Any discussion? Richard?
Dave, what perpetuated the fact that we have to start monitoring more? Is it they're not social deviants, or what's the problem?
A lot of drug use, relapsing constantly.
What do we do when we catch them in that situation?
It helps because we know they're using it, we can test them randomly. I mean, when they're coming into the office, obviously, we test them, they know they're coming in. So when we're doing spot checks at night like that, we're checking to make sure to see if there's anything that is positive, and just either by increased treatment or violation, at least we know.
Well, it's got to be a consequence, or you're not going to stop it.
Well, yeah. It's difficult.
No, I get
To
it.
get the courts on board with all that is hard. But
It's a difficult situation. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can I go back to one thing?
Sure can.
Sorry, I should have brought it up before, with TUNARP, just because it's going to become an issue when this hits the floor. Remember a while ago, we had the proposals to put the Narcan and test strips and everything in the vending machines.
Yes.
Some other counties with these TUNARPs, part of the agreement is that they will test drugs for people off the street with the TUNARPs. They can bring them to the police station to be tested. We will not do that. I'm sure it's going to come up. Somebody's going to bring it up. In no way will we ever do that. We will not test drugs for users.
Can we lock them up when they come home?
That's,
Great idea.
that's my issue with that. But
Yeah, we'll test it. Come on in.
We go,
Put up a sign out front, free drug testing.
Yeah.
There's literally no resolution.
Stupid enough they would.
Just so if it becomes an issue, no,
We go to the reservation.
we will not do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, that being said, we'll move on to reporting departments, EMS. You got something for a special today, right?
I do. Does everyone have a handout who would like one? We'll get that at the end. We'll just start off with the basic report. Education is kind of ramping up towards the end of the year. We have the Mentor Fall Academy starting in October. They've been seeing they're losing about 2 to 3 students every class. So when they start with 6, they're finishing with 3. They really want to finish with 6. So this Fall Academy, they're going to start with 8 and hoping that they get 5 or 6. It's kind of the first time they're trying out this class size, so I'm hopeful that that'll have some better results. That runs from October to December. We're offering a certified first responder class. This is largely for our volunteer fire departments. This class, those dates are wrong. It's actually going to run November to January because of the state submission process. We had to change around our dates a little bit. That's going to take place at McPhee Ambulance in Mexico. I just submitted an EMT class request this morning to the state. We're looking at having an EMT refresher and original. That's going to be out of Williamstown Firehouse, and that's going to run from November to June if it's approved by the state. November to June for that. We are still working with our Workforce New York for tuition assistance. We did get some ARPA funding for tuition assistance that we can utilize next year. So thank you for that, and we're excited to keep building this education program. Additionally, I've been partnering with the health department on offering at various times and dates stop bleed trainings for the employees over at Bunner Street. We did about 5 sessions so far. There's one more next week. I've been able to train about 30 county employees into the stop bleed program. Hoping to get another 5 or 6 next week. So. Area hospitals continue to struggle. That's not going to change. They're not on DOH diversion as much, and wait times are going down. Especially their Syracuse hospitals, their average wait times down to about an hour versus the 3 or 4 hours we were seeing. So they still have their moments, but that seems to be getting a little bit better. Another thing, what's that? Oh yeah, that's masking. 2 area hospitals have re-implemented a masking requirement in their hospitals, Oswego and Upstate. So that's been a new thing that EMS has had to deal with again. We've just recommended to the hospitals that if it's their requirement, they should leave masks by the doors for patients and EMS staff, so that's not an added cost to the EMS agencies. Both hospitals have been really good at working with us on that. I suspect more hospitals in the future are going to start switching to this.
How are we supplied with masks if we get a resurface?
We have a certain amount in our stockpile right now. Everything is also more easily purchased than it was at the beginning of the pandemic.
And in line with that too, Tyler was able to get on New York Response the other day and notice that some other counties are requesting test kits, which we didn't think were actually available. So we actually went ahead and put a New York Response request to see.
Just in case?
Just in case we can get some. We've had some requests from OFA and the Health Department. They're getting some requests for some over-the-counter test kits. So we'll see if we can get any. We can put a request in and then go from there. So.
I checked with Teenage Drugs for test kits. They wanted $49 for 2.
Yeah, they're selling it.
People aren't going to test with that.
No. $49.
So there's upstate hospitals also been COVID testing new patients since their ED as well. They're not requiring EMS staff, but they are COVID testing patients as well as requiring masking in all clinical areas. So, and I asked myself, what does that mean? It means people wrote the policy for upstate hospitals don't have to wear it in their offices, but everyone else. So that's something new we're slowly, easing back into. On that respect. Participated in a bunch of various, another thing, grant, this isn't on my report, but we were recently able to use some grant funding, was it HSP 20? Right. HSP 20, we were able to purchase some new types of equipment and some treatment options for our MCI cash. So our equipment and capabilities have been increased based off of using that last grant funding. So really excited about that. That'll be deployed probably in the upcoming couple of weeks when I get the last delivery. So various meetings, but yeah, the special thing I wanted to talk about today, I've already talked to a couple of you about it, is Senate Bill 144-6A and then Assembly Bill 250. This is the direct pay reimbursement of ambulance services bill. It's passed both the House and the Senate, the state unanimously without any pushback, and the governor has not signed it or vetoed it. We're afraid she's going to let it die on the vine, is the phrase. So after 6 months, it just gets shredded if nothing ever happened. So what this bill does primarily two things. It requires insurance agencies to get rid of requiring EMS agencies to be preferred or participating with them, and it requires them to send the checks directly to the ambulance agencies. Right now in New York State, insurance agencies oftentimes send the checks to the patients, and those patients either think it's just a notice and they throw it away, or those patients sometimes, very rarely, take it to their ambulance station for them to collect, or these patients collect it themselves and then call the ambulance again next week and collect that check, and call it again the week after and collect that check. Which is totally legal right now in New York State for you to do that. So this bill kind of reverses that. The EMS agencies in our county anticipate that right now they're collecting about 60% of 911 calls, and that if this bill is passed, that would go up to about 90%. So they would have about 50, the revenue would just under double, which would be a huge help. I also pulled some numbers, and right now in our county we have 16 paramedics countywide and 360 EMTs. We had a good discussion with Mark and some of the EMS folks earlier this week, and we kind of talked about why that is, and oftentimes it comes with pay. The EMS agencies are losing money every call. It's hard for them to pay more. And to get these EMTs to move up to paramedics, there needs to be some type of incentivization. If this bill passes and gets signed, these agencies would theoretically be able to have more income, be able to pay more, be able to keep their doors open and be a much stronger financial standpoint compared to what they are right now. So the agencies in the county have asked me to kind of look at this, and then working with the New York State EMS Coordinators Association, we were able to kind of work together and put a letter like this. So other counties in the state are doing something similar. I took this letter to all the agency directors in the county, and they all wholeheartedly support it and signed it, and asked that I bring it to you guys, asking for additional support. I'm not sure what kind of support you guys would be interested in providing, but if you'd like me to draft up a similar letter for the legislature to sign, I'd be happy to do so. I know that there's going to be a NISAC proposal on this Public Safety Committee. I also ask that you guys would support that. Something that we need, and we're hoping that on a county-wide level across the state, we can try to put some pressure on the governor to sign it despite the insurance agency lobbies telling her not to. So this would be a big win for EMS in New York State, and
So you're asking for a formal letter from the legislature support?
If it's something you guys would be willing to provide, I would love to do something similar to this, what the DOs have done. So
You have that discussion? Anybody opposed to that? Anybody?
if anyone has any
I'm
questions-
not opposed, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah,
I think absolutely.
it's legal.
In favor, look at the minority leader, what his thought might be.
Whatever you want to draft something up, throw it in for this, this legislative body, for Monday.
Would it be
I'd
a
be in favor
resolution?
of, passing that as a resolution. I have no problem with it.
It could either be a letter from the chairman, or you could add on a resolution Monday.
Okay.
Would it be more official?
There should be model resolutions out there, NISAC documents.
Okay.
If it's cleaner, you have no objection, I can just sign it. Okay. Get it in your file. If there's any objections.
No, I agree with that.
It'd be a huge win for EMS agencies if we can get her to sign this, so. Sounds good. I will get a draft letter for you guys to fill probably, if that works. Yeah. We can, all right. Thank you guys. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for doing the work.
Yeah, we did have a deep conversation about this together on Tuesday, and it makes sense to do this. Glad everybody's support.
Can we as a county do anything to reinforce or contact our Senate and Assembly to let them know that it's been 3.5 months and this could die on the vine, and you guys passed it? Is there anything they can do to help her?
I said, along the same lines, I had a question. You were told that if the governor doesn't sign the bill, it dies?
Correct.
My understanding of the state procedure is if it's passed Assembly, passed the Senate, if the governor doesn't sign within a certain amount of time, it becomes law.
Oh, okay.
So it can become law without your signature. It just-
Okay, that would be
But
news to me.
that would, I'll double check on that, but
Okay.
I've always understood that to be the procedure.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay.
She's probably taking a pass on it, so she can tell the insurance lobby, I didn't sign it.
Could
But
be
it
the
can't
case.
law anyway.
Can she veto it though?
She
She could
could, but
veto
then the
it.
House and the
She
Senate
could
could
veto
just override it with the super majority.
It's a much shorter time frame
Right.
that she's supposed to sign it by.
Right.
Okay.
Just time frame to either sign it or veto it. If it passes by signature, I think it becomes, I think the Secretary of State charters it as well.
I've got you. Okay. Oh, that would be a big relief to a lot of the
Yeah,
MSCs. I don't know if that's knowledge amongst them, and that's not what I was told from the State Coordinators Association. So, if that's the case, I would be overjoyed.
But we can still do the letter.
Okay.
Well, you have the support of the legislature.
You're gonna find out? Yeah.
I greatly appreciate it. I'll make sure all the EMS agencies know as well. So, thank you guys.
Wouldn't hurt to send a letter. No, absolutely.
Do you have a copy of the resolution that it's going to do?
No, but I can get it.
Yeah, you did send it to me.
Haven't heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah, thanks.
Haven't done a committee yet.
You're on the committee.
Appreciate it.
At least I saw it come through, so.
I know the guy who wrote it.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Nothing else? Let's move on to Kathy.
Thank you. So for EMO, we're waiting with bated breath to hear our CSB 23 application. Usually comes out in September, October. So whether approval on that piece, generally it comes, but start spending that 23 budget sometime after we bring it to you guys for approval for the next, probably in October, November legislature. We are working with our vendor to create some radiological web VOC boards. So we're getting ready to put some quotes together for that. We've created a few specialized ones for our use for our red part of our department. We are continuing with our hazard mitigation plan. We've had some meetings with the various municipalities. We continue with the steering committee meetings. Super Dirt Week is still in planning. We've gotten all the paperwork we need on our side for the county in order to send our letter to the health department regarding that. I know Infrastructures has an approval today just in committee for use of the Scriba Highway for additional parking space. So I was going to go to that meeting just to make sure that there was no barriers to that, which generally there isn't. For the radiological side, we do have some upcoming training and drills for our personal monitoring center, which is in the Parish Highway Garage, and we're also doing our reception center youth building training in the fairgrounds in November. And we have a FEMA medical evaluated service drill with Oswego Hospital and Oswego Fire Department's playing in that this year for the EMS side. So it's always good for them to practice how to handle a radiologically contaminated patient. So FEMA evaluates upstate 1 year and Oswego Hospital the next year. So those are our two primary hospitals. For the drone program, first I want to say thank you for those that came to the Easy Aerial demonstration last week. That was the first stage of something that we are looking to do. We do think that there's some more economical versions of that out there, but definitely good for you guys to see that piece of what you're looking to try to do. If you had anything you want to add on that. We are actively have 3 different types of grants that we're applying for. The SMART grant that we applied for last year that we didn't get, we are applying for it this year, and we're going to curtail some of that scope to try to make it a little more expansive on what we were looking at for. We've always targeted towards public safety initiatives, but I think we can use it for a bunch of different types of emergency initiatives, such as like You can look at bridge repairs from, aerial footage. You can look at icebergs, like ice jams and stuff like that. So I think that we can kind of broaden our scope and maybe we'll get put on the dock for being approved this year. One of the other ones that we applied for is a congressional spending grant for the drone too, and we actually have made it to stage 2. So I'm curious if we will actually get some funding for that. I don't think we will hear from that. Doesn't say when, but hopefully relatively soon. What else did I have? As I put on here, we had 148 missions last month, from June 1st to June 30th, which is up from 105 the previous month. Of course, Fulton now has a drone in service now, so that's some of the increase too. And I wanted to say thank you for those, for the approval on the ARPA funding for the drone program. It helped us putting another drone pilot in the sheriff's office, as well as supplying some of our sheriff's officers with additional drone support. So other than that, currently, I know this comes up on occasion, we have approximately 25 drone pilots in the county between the agencies that are trained. Anywhere from Mexico to Richland to Scriva, Lewistown, Phoenix, in the Granby area.
Now, do they all have drones, or are they just pilots? Everybody's got
Those are all just pilots.
pilots.
Yeah.
How many drones do we have?
It's always it's a changing number.
Right.
There are approximately 3 in the 4 in 911 department, because you have the underwater drone too. There's at least 6 to 7 in the sheriff's department. Oswego Police Department has quite a few now. Fire department has one. Fulton PD has one. Novellis has one. So I would say there's 10 to 15 drones in the county right now.
Sounds like there's even more than that. Sounds like the city of Oswego has quite a few more than just.
They might. I don't know what they.
Well, they just purchased 2 drone departments, right?
Yeah.
In addition to what they had already.
Yeah.
They have it.
They only had one on each side of the city prior to that though, so that more than doubled their capabilities, which is gonna help.
Yep.
the whole
What-
program.
One of the things that, and I thought Phil had an excellent idea when we were looking at that box, right? The drone box, when it opens up, if there's snow on it, and it was already an A-frame type of thing, would be less stress on the mechanics to push that open all the way. And
Yeah.
they said they could modify it.
The other,
I think if we're gonna park them someplace where they're gonna get snowed on, we should have maybe modify it. Or,
the other brand has HVAC built into the program, into the dock itself.
oh, okay.
Which,
To melt
Keep it
it,
melting.
yeah.
Yeah,
correct,
Yeah.
that's been worked out already,
okay.
so.
Interesting idea.
One thing that I was kind of like surprised at is they said that the older version, when they locked on something, and if it went out of line of sight, it would find it again when it came back, but this version doesn't. Once they go out of line of sight, it's gone. And I was surprised at that. I would have thought that's something you'd want to keep.
Changing their software itself.
Now, does Onondaga County borrow ours? I could have sworn something about Onondaga County borrowed something of ours like that.
Offered it,
Right.
it hasn't been requested. I mean, the closest thing we would get to that is working together on Niagara Lake at this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, the capabilities, we have the ability, but
Do they have
try and
freedom?
use their one first.
Do they have as many of drones as we do?
Oh, no.
No?
They only have a couple drones in service in the county,
Okay, that's
They're
what I
not.
thought. Okay.
in regular service.
Which to me, when you go for grants, if you're saying we also, are helping another county, may be helpful.
Yeah, and we've
Because they
done that
don't
quite a
have
bit, where we help other counties.
I mean, we've been multiple times, we went up to the Jefferson County solar farm fire.
Okay, I knew there was something that we do, we have more, so I was just saying, with our grants, if we're putting in there that we're actually helping, so this is servicing more than just Oswego County.
And I believe upstate has reached out to towns, also, to work with their drone program that they want to utilize there.
Yeah.
So I think that we are
Placing an
probably a good
elevator.
start, we probably have one of the more
They
advanced
are.
programs that people are looking to locate. So I think that in itself has shown that, we're very progressive. So we're more than willing to help.
Any other questions? All right. Probation.
Supervision investigation numbers are staying pretty stable. Our pretrial and electronic monitoring cases are up a little bit. They're still manageable, but last, when I did the stats here, we had 28 on EM, so that's kind of on the higher end for us, so I don't know where that'll go. But we're continuing our programming in the jail. We just finished a thinking for a change group, and they started an interactive journaling group, I think today, actually, today or yesterday. We've got 2 officers that are going to be going to Albany for 4 weeks of fundamentals training, which is a required training for all the probation officers. We didn't get into the spring class, but we got into the October class, so we'll be there for 4 weeks. We had an alternatives to incarceration meeting yesterday, and our next meeting is going to be in December. So we had a lot of people come, which was good. A lot of good discussion here about.
You'll send that date out?
Yep. We'll send the date out. We got a victim impact panel on August 16th. Our next one is on October 18th. As far as Stop DWI, we've been attending a lot of community events. We had some people at the Fulton Speedway over Labor Day weekend. We actually went to a wellness fair at the college yesterday, and we're going to Phoenix Schools invited us to a fair. They're having a health and wellness thing at the school next week. So that's good. And the other thing I want to mention is we discussed the bulletproof vests. We have ordered vests, so everyone in our office, even the non-hearing officers who want a vest, will be getting a vest. So we had the funding we found it in our budget. However, we found a federal grant that's going to pay for them all. So that's good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Around 10,000.
Okay. Any questions for probation?
I'd like to go back to a comment that you made when we were discussing the resolution, is that if you go to a house and you, in the middle of the night, you test somebody and they're positive, they're using, isn't that considered a violation of the parole? And what happens at that point? Do they go back to jail, or do they get a ticket? They get anything? No.
We just have to address that however we can address it.
Is that all violations of parole? And I always thought, oh my God, if they got caught with this or that, they go back to. Oh,
They used to.
they used to, so now we can't.
Parole might be, but I mean, obviously their rules are different than us, and even parole now can't do a whole lot.
But this is probation, right?
Probation, yeah, probation we can.
Okay, so probation, they can't, but parole, they can?
Well, I don't think parole.
Even they can?
Now.
So, just let me put my teaching hat on for your purposes here. Right? Probation is a tool of the court. It's given out by judges. Parole is given out by the Department of Corrections for
Okay.
prisoners.
Right.
You can't get parole unless you've been in prison. Probation you get up front or on the back end. We're sent from the judge.
Okay. All
It's
right.
2 different, right?
But either one of them, nothing happens.
Apparently nothing, this is New York State, apparently nothing happens no matter what you do.
Not immediately, but I mean, we address it somehow, we don't just ignore that. So we'll contact the treatment provider through treatment, and let them know that they're using so they can increase treatment or increase dosing if they're, doing a medication program.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be an inpatient referral if they need it. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different tools we have. I mean, we can even put them on electronic monitoring as a sanction.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of different things we can do.
Okay,
but
so you
you
can't do
can't
something
scoop 'em
other
up
than,
and just
oh, yeah, I
put 'em
got your test, and that's it.
down.
Just another tying of your hands. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for probation? All right, moving on. Fire coordinator's excuse today. He has some training going on with Novellis on the site. He's needed that. So let's go on to Kevin, 911.
So our activity actually went down a little bit in July compared to the past couple of years, which is a little bit of a breather, which is helpful for the staff. They didn't go down a ton, but they did notice that they weren't as busy as they typically would be for normal July. I think a lot of that was Harborfest and jump, so. Well, that was August, but responses or dispatches, obviously, and everything were down a little bit. So that, like I said, compared to typical July, it was down a little bit, surprising. But as far as management activity, we had a very busy month doing training, radio training. Did a VCO class for communications, which is something that we put into the state VCO course now, which has been extremely beneficial. And then Oswego City Fire trained all 4 of their shifts over a 4-day period. To catch that entire department, which is an excellent thing to interact with them and get the latest, greatest training and get them ready for the reprogramming that we're working on. As far as tactical dispatch stuff, did provide a support trailer overview during a water opposite dive drill that West Monroe had with Codnoy. Also did some drone overview and functionality discussion, and showed some capabilities there, and got a first kind of taste of trying to locate some missing people off on the lake. So that we definitely need to do some more drilling with. Very busy with 911 coordinators. We have a conference coming up here in October, so preparing for that, as well as working on preparing some stuff for NISAC, with Next Generation 911, civil service stuff we're planning on trying to do some pushing on. As far as staffing goes, we did have 7 out of 8 people that we offered positions to accepted. All 7 did show up for the first week and a half now of class, which is good. They all seem to be very, very excited. So hopefully we can continue that and try and grab a couple people out of that. Right during the last meeting, well, right before the last meeting, committee meeting, my dispatch coordinator announced her retirement, which she said she will not be here for the legislature meeting, by the way. I pushed, so just FYI. So that is the biggest effect on that. All of her workload has been passed around the office staff and a couple people helping out on the floor, but the biggest issue we're running into is she was the last line of defense from forcing overtime. So we are starting to get into some more forced overtime, and a lot more. It's eating up more budgeted overtime than expected. So watching it, but most likely we'll be requesting some more transfer of funds because there's more salary savings, unfortunately.
When is when are the new people going to be ready?
They will be out on the dispatch floor right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
With their training, and then there's about 7 to 8 weeks worth of time frame there. So
it's quite a new year.
About the end of the year. So and we do have a bunch of cross training to do in order to make room for them out there. So it's very, very, very busy. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to get headway, and hopefully all 7 hold on. And we do. The positive thing is we still do have another 10 people on the list that we'll get to the next go round that we haven't seen yet. So hopefully those people are still interested by the time we get there, but we'll be ready to do another recruit class beginning of January. So it's a little rough at the moment, but we're making progress.
Any questions for 911?
I saw this article, and I did have a copy of it, and I found some interesting things in it. Is that 80%, the national average is 30% that we're down. This is, everybody's down. It's not just Oswego. It's not just everybody across the nation is. And those that are working, they said 75% of them, it's overload that's causing it. But what was interesting is that they're talking about the AI going in and being able to, when there's a traffic accident and you get 15 calls, that they're able to go through and make sure you're not just saying, I just saw an accident, so you're not taking it from the person, the actual person in the seat, that it's saving time, and that they can actually then, okay, somebody is at the accident, you're right there, can we access your phone to be able to see? I think that's fantastic, that they're able to have eyes immediately. And Kev was talking about that he is already looking into this. I think that would be great.
I just have one question about this AI stuff. This isn't an automated answering that says, are you calling about an accident, or tell us what you're calling about? Push 1.
I haven't looked at
that would be like very frustrating.
I haven't looked into
Just saying that, right?
that piece of it, the back half of it I have.
Yeah. Okay.
So
We don't want to infuriate the
yeah,
world with
agreed, 100%, because it'll only make
for
things
English,
3
press
times
2,
worse. So we have
stressful situation as it is, right?
Yeah, we have people that already know how to play the game when they're talking to a live person. If they're talking to a fake, or a computer software, I'm sure it would just make things 3 times worse.
Yeah. Well, the new AI makes everything look real.
Yeah. So,
Anyways, I thought it was fascinating.
Kathy, back to you.
I have one last thing. I
Yes.
forgot in my report.
I was
Did
gonna
you
bring it up.
introduce Tyler Pete? He's our new emergency management coordinator. Want to bring
Welcome,
here as well?
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Archie's a terror to work for. I don't see search and rescue. Well, welcome. Good luck to you. Don, you got anything for us?
Just a couple things. One, the number of calls we're handling up to through the roof. We track stats with Kevin does. The other agencies in the county, if they drive through a city park, they'll tell them there's an incident. We don't do that. Our stats are up. We're at 20,000 calls already for the year. It's really crazy.
What's driving it? Is there a specific area that's driving it, or is it
Well,
all?
one, we took steps to put more deputies on the road, so when they dispatch, it's closest cars, so we're getting more. 22 of the 33 deputies on the road patrol are guys and girls that have been hired since we've been here, so they're young, they're aggressive, they're jumping calls. I mean, there are some towns in the county where we're handling 3 to 1 calls for other agencies. It's getting crazy. What we are getting to the point is, I don't know how often it's happening, but I'm hearing it quite a bit, is the city of Fulton is calling deputies and troopers in to handle basic police calls because they just don't have the staff. So I don't know where that's going to
It's
go.
across the board that everybody's stats are up. I mean, July, like I said, it's down a little bit from past years, but we're still a lot higher than pre-pandemic. I mean, crazy higher, 50% higher.
I think I heard Fulton's in really bad shape. They're trying to hire guys. They're the same as everybody else.
Then the other issue is these fatal accidents. Just in the month of April, we had more than we had all of last year.
Was there another accident out in front of the safety center? On 481 in Churchill Road? Was there another accident there?
There was one in front of the cemetery,
Oh, okay.
I think last week.
And the motorcycle accidents are really, we're having staffing issues to the point where we had 2 fatal accidents at once, the other night motorcycles, where a lieutenant had to leave his house at 3:30 in the morning to go out and run us. We're being overwhelmed. I'm not sure what the answer is going to be. The other issue is, you would think after this incident in Syracuse the other night, yesterday morning, where 2 kids were killed, it's not stopped. Last night, we had 2 smash and grabs in the city of Oswego on an attempt, and in Babcock Oil. People didn't even know their car was stolen from Camillus until our sergeant ran the plate that was given by OPD, called people and said, "Where's your car?" They thought it was in the driveway. So, same group of kids, 15, 11-year-olds in the cars, stealing, hitting these gun shops. It's not stopping. So we're going to do a good press release on it with the other counties too. Even 2 kids getting killed, and stop it. The very next night they're out there again. Same group of kids hitting stores.
Donna, the smash and grabs that are happening in Oswego County, are those people from Oswego County, or is it people coming in?
City of Syracuse mostly. And then they're stealing cars in the suburbs, and then going from Camillus, Geddes. It's all day. Bringing those cars up here to commit smash and grab burglaries. Gun shops, smoke shops.
Is it gang activity coordinated?
It's kids. It's raise the age. It's New York State. Where we're at.
I see it, I want it, I take it.
That's it.
How's your personnel levels? We got guys in the academy, you're still down a couple, right? We moved that?
We have 9. I think we're up to 14 openings in corrections. We just hired 4.
3 or 4.
We're going through the background process.
We're doing early, hiring them a little quicker, so they'll start before an academy rating starts, which we can do in corrections. But with the new list that just came out, I know there's at least 3 starting the middle of this month, maybe 4. There was another one that I don't know what they wound up doing yesterday with that one. They're hoping to get 5 or 6 started.
We're revisiting video arraignments. That should cut down on cat court transports if we can get the state legislature to pass that bill. We're joining on that with Jefferson County to try to get that.
Understood. We had a conversation about that this week, right? About, that needs to be fixed somehow. We're going to fix it, but we got to fix it, right? We can get everything down there so you don't have to transport them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The time wasted doing that.
We had a shift the other night, midnight shift. Out of the entire shift of corrections officers, only 1 person on that shift was allowed to go home and take another shift. Everybody else was forced to work a 16-hour shift. We're being forced in for 4 hours held over for 4 hours, and only contract basis, a junior person. Those 2 junior people on those 2 shifts are so frustrated, so burned out, that their families are telling them to quit. So,
Understood.
Can we do more of the Cap Court video so you don't have to transport?
well, that's all we're trying to do. But we have to have state legislation in order to do it.
So it's the
Some jurisdictions have it, some don't. We do not.
Okay. You say some do, some don't, and it's the state determining whether we have it or not?
Correct.
They don't just do it, they'll swoop across the state, you can all do it. So if we had that though, the guys could stay right at public safety building, right?
Correct. The morning arrangements, weekday morning arrangements can be handled within the facility.
Right, but the, middle of the night type of thing and all of that.
We do nighttime arrangements in Cap Court. That's in our building, so that's not an issue.
Okay.
And then weekends, the judges come to the Public Safety Center.
Okay.
It's the weekday morning, it's just killing us.
That's the time frame that it's the real one, right?
It would seem that if we could work it out, where the judges come there on the weekends, that we should be able to work it out. The judges come in the mornings too, right?
We gotta pay them. $300 a day, I think they get.
Yeah, but wouldn't that save us money in transporting time and resources and?
Likely. Yeah, and I was
We should look at that.
opposed to that, but if we could, instead of that, Terry Wilbur just contacted me because there's legislation pending for judges and county. I asked him to add us to it. We can do video arrangements and
Would help out.
phenomenal.
Start with that. Anything else? Any questions for them?
The only other thing we got, well passed. They
Oh.
start Friday.
Okay.
They
Well,
started
it's all
Friday.
worked out.
On our end, it went smooth. Downstairs, there's still a few things that they're working out, a lot of bumps, but we have much more staff down there now because they have their new hires, plus then they have their transition team. So there's probably, instead of tripling our staff, it's quadrupled right now because they have trainers and everything else. But they're training our people to do everything their way. There's, again, some tension, but we like the end result. We're being told is 30 days when the transition team leaves, everybody will be trained doing everything the right way and the same way. So we think it'll work out pretty good. They filled most of their positions. I did hear, I believe, 1 or 2 of the nurses left already. But they're filling in from other areas. They're bringing in people so that they've been fully staffed. So far, so good.
Let me I want to visit something real quickly. CSI was going to be next week, and we postponed it because of 911 at NICEC, 9/11 at NICEC. Have we made any progress on any of our projects? The schools, the cameras, 411? Have we had any movement? I guess we got to throw it out there because we're going to bring it up next month, so we haven't had any movement. I know everybody's busy. It's been a busy summer. But maybe we could revisit that and see where we're at. Maybe have an update for next meeting.
I think the biggest thing we've been trying to address is entry into all the school buildings. And I think we're at a stage now where we're talking about an electronic back box.
Okay.
Where it's digital to enter it. You wouldn't have to pass out codes or anything else. My proposal would be that 911 has the access code for the building.
Give it out.
Give it out to whoever needs it.
That would be,
If it's
yeah.
given out over the air, then the administrator for that school would just go and change the code.
Sure.
Keep on
That makes sense.
911.
And we've been having discussions on the radio interfaces, the video aspect, and looking at funding after our last meeting, so.
Yeah, there was some federal funding available for that, and I think the last conversation we had, we got to get the schools on board.
Correct.
You get into that?
We did have a meeting with the superintendents, and there's 2 schools that had said they'd be interested in looking at a data program of some kind. So, I mean,
Any schools tell us they're not interested?
Not interested. We had some that told us they were interested.
But none, I don't think you're going to find any that are.
Mapping?
Yeah. Well, the mapping and then the camera thing, right? That was another thing.
The camera, I've
Mapping.
only heard from 2 schools, they are interested. The others, I think, are kind of wait and see, but I haven't heard a ton from APW or Mexico.
Okay. Well, Pulaski volunteered right from the get-go, right?
Correct.
So they're,
Yeah. So Pulaski and Oswego City,
Okay.
two that,
jumped in. We start with them, then
so,
trickle from there.
yeah, and we're looking at Hannibal and Sandy Creek for the radio interfaces, so.
Okay. So we've had some movement.
Yep.
Okay, terrific. All right, great, guys, good meeting. Look for the appropriate motion, if there's nothing else.
Motion adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.